Well, it's happening with relatively little notice, almost none, but the U.S. is quietly going broke, very quietly. But it's real. The Congressional Budget Office just released its forecast for next year's federal budget. Economists there are predicting a deficit of $897 billion. For perspective, that's about $120 billion more than last year, and it's far above the $500 billion deficits of the George W. Bush years that generated so much alarm at the time. You remember those? What we're running now is getting close to the trillion-dollar deficits of Obama's first term. The difference is those deficits came in the wake of the worst recession in decades, and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, of course, were still running at high intensity at the time. The national debt, most significantly at the time, was less than half of what it is right now. So why is all of this happening in 2019? It shouldn't be. They tell us our economy is in strong shape. Our leaders say that we're so rich we can give free health care to illegal aliens. No problem. These are boom times. But if that's true, then why aren't we running a surplus? The national debt is $22 trillion. That's bigger than our annual GDP. What do you think is going to happen if there's another market crash? Or if suddenly we have to fight another war, if the Democrats succeed in pushing us to war with Russia, for example? If we're this underwater during a peacetime boom, imagine what things could look like when something goes wrong, and it inevitably will. In life, something always goes wrong. And sometimes you can even predict what it's going to be. Interest rates, for example. Our current debt scheme works because long-term interest rates remain low. And yet, even now, our annual interest payments amount to more than $370 billion. That's about as much as our entire budget for Medicaid. Once interest rates go up, and they will, that figure will explode. At that point, your tax dollars won't go to roads or health care or SEAL Team 6. They'll just go to interest payments. And you'll get nothing in return for that. Only the bankers will benefit. Both parties ought to be very worried about this. Neither party seems to be. They assume they'll be long gone when the bill comes due. They'll be living in Florida. And that's usually right. But this time they're wrong, because this isn't the long-term crisis we used to talk about. It's happening right now as we watch.